Hi everyone, my name is Sarah. I'm 17 years old. I'm a high school senior from Florida. I absolutely love to write. Writing is definitely my thing. I have loved to write since first grade. And a fun fact, I actually have two books. The first one is called One Chance, and the second one is Two Secrets. I think I have them here. Yeah, this is the first one. This is One Chance. And then this is the second one, which is Two Secrets. So that's like, I think, one of the coolest things that I have to share. But even more importantly than that, I love volunteering, and I always have loved volunteering. I've been volunteering since I got into sixth grade and like National Honor Society, all of that fun stuff. But what I'm here to talk about today is I'm the president and founder of Simple Studies. So I know you're probably like, well, what is Simple Studies? So before I talk about what it is, I'm just going to give a little bit of background about why it started and where it came from in my life. So I grew up in a very standard middle class, like suburban neighborhood. I went to kindergarten through eighth grade with the same group of kids. Largely, everyone had the same background, like from the same area. There was no diversity, and it was just like the same group of people. And for me, that was my norm. I didn't realize how diverse the world was at like growing up. But when I was in eighth grade, I decided instead of going to my local high school with all the kids that I just spent the past 9 years with, I decided to attend a magnet fine arts school an hour away from my house. And by magnet, I don't know if every state has this, but by magnet, it basically just means you can come from wherever to come to this school. You do not have to live near it. You don't have to, be in that general area. There are kids who come like 2 hours away to this school, but it's free. It's a free public school, and it has the draw for the fine arts. So by the fine arts, we have 15 different majors at my school. There's the communicative arts, which are like film, writing, journalism, performing arts, which is like band, chorus, orchestra, dance, all of that, and then visual arts, which is like sketching, painting, sculpting, all of that. But the school is also a Title I school. It is located in the projects, and it has a lot of government funding coming in. But it's definitely not known for being in a nice area. It's like a C school, so it's like two schools in one. And I had, grown up in a bubble, and attending this high school, it's called Blake, was me popping that bubble. Blake is an exposure of arts and culture. There are so many like personalities and perspectives that are also unique and interesting and inspiring. There's also a lot of poverty at the school, and it opened my eyes to a concept of education inequity. Lots of kids at my school and other schools can't access the resources that were considered normal in the area that I grew up in. So fast forward to my junior year, which was last year, when it came time for AP exams, I made study guides because, it was an open book test. So you might as well. They were giving me the opportunity, so I did. And a bunch of people were like asking me for them. So I sent out a bunch of study guides to help my peers. And it occurred to me that it'd be super cool to have a platform where anyone could access them. So from there, I started Simple Studies. Originally, it was just a website for like me to put my study guides on. And then I was like, no, you know what, like we can have more than that. So then I started recruiting people to make AP study guides. I found people through word of mouth, like kids that went to my school, followed my Instagram, and just like, networked basically to find AP content creators. But it turned out there was so much interest that we expanded to AP classes, core classes, elective, and IB classes. So now, fast forward a few months again, we have over 125 study guides in the works for most classes, a high school and college related blog, AP unit quizzes, and a ton of free resources. We also have 2,000 followers on Instagram now. We hit that yesterday, so if you want to follow, it's at SimpleStudies4. Got a quick plug. But anyway, I won't lie and say that getting to this point was easy. It definitely wasn't. But I will say that it was absolutely worth it. Just like any good thing, you definitely had to overcome a lot of problems and a lot of setbacks. But the satisfaction of, being where it is today is just so great. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the problems that I faced and that my board and Simple Studies members have faced. Alexis is actually on my board. She's my outreach officer, so she can attest to some of this. So anyway, one of the main problems I faced in running a nonprofit, probably the biggest, is people not coming through on their commitments. A lot of people didn't make deadlines or even ask for extensions, which was very frustrating. Many people plagiarized the majority of their guides and were upset with us for not giving service hours for it. Service hours are hours of impact, and it's not impactful if we can't use it at the end of the day. So people, like, we would have people join, they would take a position, and then they'd ghost us, and we declined the position to other people before realizing that we were ghosted. And there's just been a lot of very frustrating scenarios that made it very easy to just feel defeated and to feel drawn to the idea of giving up. But something that has definitely helped me is keeping in mind messages that I've gotten from kids at my school and other schools saying like it helped them with their summer classes, and like the year hasn't even started yet. So keeping in mind that this is a problem that I personally don't face the problem of education inequity. There are so many kids that do. So keeping in mind that we're able to help them and give them a resource to be able to move forward and to be able to achieve and tap into their potential just keeps me motivated. So all of that leads to advice. I'm going to do 2 different sets of advice. The first set is tips for helping combat education inequity in your area and school. And then the second set of advice is just going to be tips for starting an organization of your own if you're interested in doing that or if you've already started. There's always room to learn. So with the first set of advice to combat education inequity in your area. The first tip is to see if your school has a tutoring program. Some schools have it through like an AVID or a student government where they have like people who are good at the class help kids that are taking it and need help. So if you can get involved in that, a lot of schools have it, but quite a few don't. So see if they have it. If they don't, consider starting one. All you really need for a tutoring program is Google Forms and a Zoom room. So you can set it up as like through your student government. You can work with people at your school, talk to administration. But there are always kids at every school who can give help and always kids at every school who need help. Regardless of if your school is top tier, #1 in your state, there are still kids at your school who could use help. And then there's also, if you don't feel comfortable starting out at your school or there isn't one at your school, there are a lot of online tutoring programs that you can get involved in and help tutor through there and just spread your knowledge to kids that need help understanding that knowledge. The next thing is a quick plug for Simple Studies. You can join us as a regional representative. You'd actually be working under me and Alexis. But regional representatives help us spread the word about all of our study guides and free resources to whatever area you're from. Basically, just involves sending emails. You join our Slack, add it to your resume, all sorts of fun stuff. But it really helps us spread the impact because Simple Studies isn't able to help anyone in your area if no one in your area knows about it. So Alexis, can you actually drop the application link if you don't mind? But anyways, so joining as regional rep definitely helps spread the word and combat education inequity. But outside of Simple Studies, you can also consider making study groups. Some people might not be comfortable making a study group with people that they don't necessarily know. So find mutuals, do it with your class, stuff like that. A lot of kids in classes I have found frequently want a support system, but don't want to ask people for one. In my AP Stat class last year, we definitely had like a bunch of kids who needed help, but didn't want to, ask for it. And we made a group chat and it was very helpful to a lot of kids. So yeah, also pass down your notebooks and textbooks instead of throwing them away. Teachers can pass down the like workbooks, prep books, like if you have like a Princeton review book that you don't need anymore. I've always passed mine down to teachers and teachers always pass them down to kids that need them in the following class. So helping kids access resources like that, really good. You can also donate school supplies or support brands that do, like Ethos or UB. Teachers also love having extra supplies. I know I always get more supplies than I think I need, and then I end up with like a lot of excess supplies. So definitely keep in mind that you can do that and that teachers would love to have that. Okay, so basically just summarizing that section, look at what you have to offer, whether it's knowledge, materials, supplies, and look at what is needed in your area and find an intersection. So yeah, here are my top 10 tips to start an organization if that is what you are interested in doing. If not, this might help with any like programs or anything you run, but I will try and go through it relatively quickly. Okay, tip 1, be organized. Have a Google Drive with subfolders and keep a list of who is doing what and what they are doing it by. And like when they're doing it by, having all this information will really help. To use social media. I actually started with TikTok instead of Instagram, which is a little bit weird, but Instagram is definitely better. Connect with other nonprofits, do shout outs, post a lot, use hashtags, all of that, fun stuff. 3, find what you can offer others. For example, if you just make an organization Instagram and have very few followers, an account with, say, 1,000 followers might not want to do a shout out for shout out since it's not an even exchange. So you can offer to promote their post on your personal, which is what I did starting off, or offer to post 2 to even it out, and frequently bigger nonprofits will be receptive to that. I want to keep going, but I got a message saying my time was up, question mark. I thought I had until 12:10.
You can continue going. It's just because it goes with the Q&A time, but you're fine.
I thought I had until 12:10 to speech and then 12:10 to 12. Okay. All right, well, I'll just finish the last few steps. Okay, so step 4 is to start with a mission statement in mind so you and your team know what you are working for. It's also really helpful if someone asks you what you're doing or what your mission is. That way you can explain it to others. The 5th tip is super random, but it's one of the most helpful things that I've done. Use text replacement. I literally live by text replacement. If you have an iPhone, I know you have it. I don't know about Androids, but you can just use quick replies on Instagram. For example, I have one that if I type in the word mission statement, one word, it'll just fill it in with the entire Simple Studies mission statement. And it is so helpful because if you start a nonprofit or a program, like a tutoring program, you're going to have to answer a lot of the same questions over and over and over again. And you're going to have to drop the same links and the same tags. So if you use text replacement on your phone, just for all of the things that you know that you're going to have to share, it is so helpful. I literally use that for everything. Tip number 6, have a consistent Instagram feed, either by color, by design, any other theme. It makes your page feel more professional and people will want to follow, or they'll be more likely to follow if your page looks very professional and put together. Tip 7, once your team exceeds 25 members, consider using Slack. It is great for keeping things organized and keeping people in touch. You can have public channels, private channels, group chats, individual chats, and pretty much everything that you would need. 8, know when to do it yourself and when to delegate. I like to do things myself, but sometimes you have to recognize that you might not be the best person for it, and or you have other things to do. For example, after I made the website, I realized I was not the person to run the website. I don't have experience in website design, so I got a website manager. I also realized I didn't have time to focus all my energies onto outreach, so I got Alexis, an outreach officer, and she does a great job. And knowing how to delegate really helps you take stuff off your plate and focus on the aspects that you feel strongly about or are really good at. Tip 9, don't rush. Do not start an organization off with 7 projects. Start small and get bigger. Biting off more than you can chew really makes it hard to do well at any of the projects that you take on. So definitely build your way up. And tip number 10, seek out advice and learn from it. Reach out to people who run nonprofits. I guarantee you they would love to talk about their experience. I like talking about my experience. You can reach out to me. I'm sure people at GenZHER would like to talk about their experience. But reaching out to people and getting their advice, they will feel complimented that you want their advice and that you care for their opinion. So yeah, absolutely find nonprofits that can help, basically give you the advice and the mistakes that they had, and you can learn from it. I'm ready for the Q&A if anyone has any questions.
I have a question. It says, when did you write your book and how long did they take?
So I wrote my first draft of my first book, One Chance, back in May of 2014. So I was in 5th grade. I rewrote the entire book when I was in 6th grade. I rewrote it again in 7th grade. Signed my contract in 8th grade. Edited pretty much all of 8th grade and then released it my freshman year. So 4 years start to finish. And then for Two Secrets, I wrote it for the first time in 6th grade and then forgot about it for ever. Rewrote it in freshman year, did the second draft my sophomore year. No, third draft sophomore year, and then released it junior year. Yeah, okay. Sorry, this timeline gets a little fuzzy sometimes. Thank you, Sunset is cool. The study guides are slowly being added to the site. We have a bunch on there now, but we add them every Friday. We add a new group, but we're hoping to get all of them up by mid-September. they're mostly being edited and proofread, but we've had some problems with plagiarism, which is really fun. So those guides might take a little longer. Am I working on any new projects? For simple studies and for writing, yes. For writing, my third book, 3 Quests, comes out later this year, probably November, December-ish, which I've been working really hard on editing that, but editing's not fun, so it's easy to lose motivation. And then for simple studies, we are, working on all the stuff, putting all the study guides onto the site, and we are also building up our regional representative team, which is a project in and of itself. I'm hoping you guys apply because we'd love to have you. But Alexa's gonna test, definitely a lot to take on.
Oh, sorry. There's a question before that I got privately and I didn't see it until now.
Oh yeah, go for it.
And it was someone asked, where do you plan to go to college, and do you think you're going to continue doing simple studies whenever you're in college?
That is an excellent question. So my dream schools are schools that have creative writing programs. Unfortunately, most colleges don't have a creative writing major. They have like minors or concentrations. So my dream school is Brown. Secondly, my other favorite school is Harvard, which these are very high reaching, and I don't know if I can get in. I probably can't. But Harvard, I spent a couple of weeks there like 2 summers ago at their summer program, and I loved it. And so I really like that school. I also really like Brandeis and Wellesley, so those are my other 2. Because they all have good creative writing programs, and it's really what I want to do. As far as simple studies, I honestly am not sure if I'm like taking a gap year after this year because I really don't want to like miss out in college. So I'll absolutely be doing it this year and then probably next year. But I do want the board to be high school, so I will always be working on it, but I might consider passing it down to a high school board after like 2 years.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna answer the day in my life question. I'm not gonna lie, I have some unhealthy habits as far as working. I'm kind of a workaholic. It's not good. Don't follow my lead on this one. But as far as my healthy habits go, I have this notebook. Hold it. It's right here. Okay. So I have this notebook and I write down at the end of every day everything that I want to do tomorrow. You can even see GenZHER speeches at the top. Everything that I want to do the next day. This is like from last week, but it's whatever. And then in the morning, I wake up and I look at the list and I'm like, okay, what can I do by this time? Like, which one is most important? And then I go through and do the list. Stuff I don't check off, I put it on the next day. And so basically my day consists of me doing the calls. I normally have about 3 or 4 calls a day, which is like crazy, but I'm involved in a lot of stuff. And then in between calls, checking stuff off my to-do list and occasionally relaxing, occasionally, if I get to it. It's not a great habit, but one of the things that I've learned is definitely I'm taking more time for self-care. So I try and set aside a couple hours to watch TV with my family, a couple hours to talk with my boyfriend on like video chat. It's very fun. And then I always set aside an hour to read or journal before going to bed. And so that's me kind of working on like the self-care. Let's see. The most interesting project I've worked on, I want to say my books because I feel like my books are interesting. But as far as simple studies goes, I would definitely say the quizzes and the study guides, specifically AP guides have been really fun to work with, especially because they're classes that I've taken or am taking. Like the APES guide, the AP Environmental Science guide, I told the creator, I was like, I'm using this next year, like make it extra good. And so like definitely the study guides, but also I love my books. They're like the biggest part of my life. So those 2. The people not committing or plagiarizing and how do I deal with and communicate. Yeah, so that is, I'm not gonna lie, that is really hard. I've had people even personally insult me for giving deadlines. Like I literally gave a kid a 2-week deadline. Alexis might remember this. And he was like, you're so bossy. Like, leave me alone. Respect my time. And I was like, bro, I just gave you a deadline. Like, we've got stuff to do. And it's definitely very easy to feel defeated. The 2 things that we've done has seemed to help. A lot of people do this for service hours. And like I said, service hours are hours of impact. And we can't use your stuff if you plagiarize. So you're not impacting anyone. So we say if your guides are plagiarized or they're not up to par, they're not received by deadline and we can't get them up, then we don't give service hours, which is kind of a sucky situation for those people, but I guess they brought it on themselves because they were told when they joined. As far as communication goes, we definitely reach out in multiple ways of contact. So make sure you always have somebody's Instagram and their email. Sometimes people will take like 2 weeks to respond to their email, but respond to Instagram within an hour. So having multiple ways to contact, like on applications or anything, so definitely having that. And then plagiarizing things. Honestly, we have a folder called Fixer Uppers where we put plagiarized guides and then we replace them. So the Fixer Uppers folder is like the you don't want to be here folder. And we only have 3 or 4 guides that are real Fixer Uppers that can't just be edited. So basically we just tab them. We have a list of problem documents, and then we're able to say like, okay, this is something that we need to either just delete, something we need to spend a lot of time working on, or something we need to work on and see if we can replace parts of it. Hopefully that helps.
I got a question that says, do you have to be a nonprofit to give service and volunteer hours?
This is definitely a question that I've been asked a lot. So we're about to be an AVO, which is an all volunteer organization. That's like based in Florida, because that's where I'm from. And like a lot of people go for the 501c3 status, which is great if you have it, but that's like an IRS thing, and Simple Studies doesn't deal with money, so we don't want to pay like $600 for a 501c3. But also frequently schools do want some sort of documentation. So honestly, about giving service hours, it really depends on the school. My school, you have to get it approved through a platform called Profferfish. I'm not a fan. But you have to get it approved through that platform. Some schools, they just require like a letter from the organization. Some schools require, like they have like the X2 vol or whatever where you click submit. So it really depends on the school. I've asked a bunch of different schools, and basically they say like, if you're an organization that can show your impact and you can like quantify and prove your impact and prove that you are like, doing stuff, then they will accept hours, frequently through either letters, certificates, or emails. So Simple Studies, we have like a letter that has like contact information, details of what our participants did, stuff like that. That way their schools know that we're like legit and can give service hours. So I don't think you have to be official, but there are some schools that do require that. It really just depends on the school and school district policies. So yeah. Oh, the inspiration for my books. I missed that question. So I basically write my books based off all the stuff that I love to read about. I don't like copy parts of it, but I think about like, okay, I love mystery, or I love when books are able to incorporate historical parts of like their story. And so I just think of things that I like and things that I would want to read about, and I write that. So all my books have history. The first book they time travel back to Abraham Lincoln's assassination, the Titanic sinking. They warn people at Pearl Harbor. The second book, they kind of go back to their own time. They messes with the space-time continuum. The third book, they go back to like the founding fathers, and it's all like secret societies and like this thing called the Rosicrucian Order, which is something the founding fathers were a part of. And so I just think of like cool things that I would love to know or read about, and I incorporate them into my writing. If you are interested in writing, quick plug, I also have a writing program. You can add that to my little link list that I sent. But my writing program has a lot of stuff on how to build how to build worlds, and how to plan, and how to like keep track of pacing and stuff like that. That's the writing program. It's all free, self-paced stuff. So if you guys are interested in writing, it has all of my best tips. I've definitely learned by trial and error, and it has a lot of good tips for stuff that I have discovered throughout my journey in writing and publishing. Is it easy for a teenager to set up an official nonprofit? So I would say no for it to be official, because official nonprofit requires a lot of paperwork. 501c3 status is like $500 or $600, which is very pricey, especially for an organization like Simple Studies that doesn't have any money. And then if you're like okay, so I'm a resident of Florida. Florida has a thing that you can do to become an all-volunteer organization, which is a form of an official nonprofit, but it's not like related to the IRS. So we have like our own like certificate type of thing. Don't know if other states have it, but I know Florida does. So if you have anyone from Florida, they might be able to do that for you. And then it's like an official Florida-based nonprofit. How do we find plagiarism? There's a website, it's called like plagiarism.net. I definitely have the link on my phone, but I don't actually do it because I'm not on the editing team. Thank goodness, I could never. But we have all the editors and proofreaders of our study guides put it through, it's plagiarismdetector.net. And that definitely screens out a lot of bad content and like plagiarized content. And that is honestly like saving us here, because if we put plagiarized content on our website and we're like, hey, this is our stuff, like we made this, and then it's all plagiarized, like does not reflect well on our organization. So plagiarismdetector.net, very helpful. If there are any other questions, oh, cool. Okay. How long was the publishing process for the books, and are you planning to write more? Long and yes. So the publishing process, I signed my contract when I was in 8th grade, but little known secret, I started working with the publisher before I signed the contract because we had been like talking for a very long time. I met her in 7th grade, in like the fall of 7th grade. We started working together fall of 8th grade. So the publishing process, I would say for each book is about like a year and a half. It really depends on how much editing each book needed. One Chance needed a whole lot. Like One Chance needed a year and a half of solid editing, several editors, several proofreaders. Two Secrets needed about 1 year of editing, which is a little less, but still a lot. And then Three Quests. So my publisher says it doesn't need a whole year of editing, which is very exciting because I did the new draft in March. So we've been editing since March and it's released in November. I'm gonna let y'all do the math. I think that's like 9 months? I don't know, but about 9 months, so less than a year. It really just depends on how much editing is needed, but there's also like cover designs, graphics, lots of stuff that I don't do, like Library of Congress numbers and all sorts of stuff. How did I find my publisher? I found my publisher by getting involved in my local writing community. For me, that's a Tampa Bay area writing project. But if you look up National Writing Project and see if there's a chapter near you, getting involved in writing communities, definitely a great way to network with publishers, agents, all sorts of stuff. Frequently for most authors, querying an agent is the first step, and an agent gets you to a publisher. I skipped the agent step and went straight to the publisher. I wouldn't recommend that, but that's what I did. I skipped one. No, I didn't. What classes do you offer study guides for? So we have study guides for every single AP class, literally every single one, except for like AP German. AP German. We don't have AP German. But other than AP German, which I've never seen a school that actually has that, we have every AP class covered. And then we have most like core classes. We've got like algebra, chemistry, like those kinds of classes, like English, history, all that. And we have a lot of electives. We've got like journalism, leadership, drama, like photography, like all sorts of electives. And then IB, we have like econ and like the basic like IB, like math HL, math SL, those kinds of classes.
This will
go ahead, Alexis.
This is going to be the last question.
Okay.
Okay, so there's 2 questions, but these will be the last ones because there's 2 more minutes for the Q&A.
Yeah.
One person asked for study tips, and then Emmanuel asked, would you mind sharing an example of what the study guides look like?
Yes, I'll do the, can I screen share really quickly? I'll screen share one of my guides.
Yep.
I'm going to specifically screen share the one that I have just because I made it, so it's on my like desktop. Okay, so I'll quickly show y'all. They're missing the watermark. Here's the AP Psychology one. It's like 60 pages or something like that. And it's done, this is my color coding, but like it has like graphics and stuff. Like here are like the nerves, or not the nerves, oh my god. The different like neurotransmitters. They don't all look the same considering they're made by different people. But yeah, here's the AP Psych one, and then here's an AP Physics one. That just has like, just the stuff summarized. This one's very short. Most of them, don't want to do that. Most of them are longer. But yeah, here's what the study guides look like. And they're specifically really helpful if you can do like a control F and find whatever you're looking for. And then what was the question that wasn't the study guide one?
Someone asked for study tips.
Oh, study tips. Okay. I would say the best study tips, definitely using our study guides, but also making your own. One thing that someone told me really helped and that I will definitely be doing is using the study guides that we have or any other ones that you want to use and using that to create your own. Taking notes is really helpful and having your own color coding method. I love color coding. I'd also recommend handwriting or like having handwritten notes from class and then typing. But there's something about physically writing the notes that just helps you remember. Also, study over a period of time. Definitely don't try and cram. I don't really study as much unless it's like a big exam. But when I do have a big exam coming up, I do like 20 minutes a day as opposed to like an hour the day before. Last couple tips, create acronyms. Acronyms really help me, especially if I can think of a funny sentence that it could stand for. So like if I'm trying to remember like the neurotransmitters in psychology, just take the first letter and like combine them. Acronyms help. And then the last tip that I'll give is if you can come up with like a rhyme or something that will help you remember, stuff like that. Oh wait, and one more. I read this online and I feel like it actually works. If you chew gum when you study and you chew the same flavor when you take the test, it might be a myth, but it works for me. Like I chewed watermelon trident, which is my favorite gum, during my like AP psychology review time. And then I chewed it during my AP psych exam and I got a 5 on it. And I genuinely think trident watermelon gum is just a miracle. So yeah, I'll leave it on that amazing and very intelligent note.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sarah, for joining the GenZHER conference today and sharing your insight.
Thank you.